And Dr.
Oglia?
Poquott. Poquott?
Yeah, Oglia.
So I would, on this one, I would go through the, what's called jurisdiction, make sure the notices were sent and that the notice was published.
Okay, well, before,
I'm sorry, Paul.
no, just before we, because it's, as I indicated to the board and to my, and when I communicated with you today, I don't think the application is properly in front of us because the court or the patio and the fence that's on Walnut is on the village property, according to the survey, and it's obviously it's on the village property, and we can't grant a variance on something that's not, that is on property that doesn't belong to the applicant. And there's a lot of other details that go along with that, but our job is only to, we only grant within the 4 squares of what's in front of us, so it isn't, we're not, I can't legislate from the bench, so to speak, which I would never want to, but I don't think that we are the right, or I think actually your request for a variance is premature because your court and your fence are on the village, they're encroaching over the line from your property into the village's property.
Okay.
Have you seen the survey that shows that? Okay.
Yes.
So that would be my, as the entity for the zoning board for this village, that would be my opinion legally, that we are not legally allowed to hear this at this point. Procedurally, I guess I should say. So I'm looking, Mr. Poquott,
Oh, so anyway, as far as the question about why I didn't pick up on this before,
Well,
I don't know.
that wasn't really for, that's why I communicated to you
Yeah.
individually and to my board individually. I mean, for us,
Okay.
not for the clerk or anybody else, because it was something that I had a concern with, which,
Yeah.
but my concern right now is legally to, for the village and for the residents, so that their rights and our rights, that everybody's protected.
Right.
I don't believe it's within our purvey to hear this because I think it's premature. The court and the fence are on the village's property.
Right, so I just wanna say that, it's, in almost every application that comes before us, I pick up a mistake in the plans or the survey. I don't review, I'm not the plan reviewer here, but, I'm happy to do that service at the hearing, but getting this today, I don't know what the board expected me to do, but but as far as the legal question is, I don't think that we have the jurisdiction to grant, the construction of this. To sign off on what was built, because part of it does encroach on village property. So I think that what the applicant needs to do.
Or what, you mean, because the variance before us tonight is only for the fence height.
Right.
That isn't a variance for, that we wanna put a sports court on a piece of property and we need a variance for the side, the front, or the corner part of the yard. It's, our fence is higher than allowed on a corner lot, and that's the only thing that's in front of us. It's the only thing noticed is the height of the fence.
Okay.
So I think that the application before us is premature, and it has to get past other hurdles before we would ever even get a chance to hear the fact that it's not in the legal spot, and the height of the fence is also not to code.
The fence is not in a legal spot. Is that what you're referring to?
The height of the fence is not to code. The location of this court, which is not a patio, is not to code. And it's on the village property, so the beginning of my analysis was that this encroaches on the village's property from square one, so we don't have, I can't grant a variance of a fence that's not on, 20 feet of that fence isn't on your property.
Okay, so, do you mind?
That's my opinion.
Do you mind if we just continue this discussion? Can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
So, the way that we get these, so this is an application for a fence height and, variance. And, but looking at this, there's a couple different fences that are shown, so I'm not sure exactly what, honestly.
So in I highlighted the
Okay.
court, and that's,
It's the
fence that goes around this court here. It's
Okay.
it's already there, and it's 10 feet. It
Okay.
exists.
Now,
So this
what
is the fence that we're talking about that's on the application.
Right, I got it. Yeah, so what is this other fence that's indicated on the survey? Is this existing?
That's an existing chain link fence around their playset.
Okay,
That's legal, that's of no concern. I mean, it's not before us.
well, it's, that
I mean, the
also is
distance-
on village property.
Which one? Which one?
The one, it says chain link fence. is this a fence that I'm looking
The
at?
10-foot high
Listen
fence
here,
is
just look at
chain
my
link
highlight.
though.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he
okay,
has
what
a
is this
fence
other
in
one?
his backyard. There's no way it's
What
the
is this
property.
one?
Oh, I know.
The line, I think it's a power line.
That's the power line.
That's the
I
power
think
line,
This
okay.
guy nuts,
there's
he
no
built
light
Yeah.
something on
so I
Alright,
village
so that's the power line, so that's the
Power
that's
line.
their power line, okay.
Power
Okay.
line.
He's looking at the power line.
Okay, so
But
that's,
in Dr.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I wanna say Folia, Dr. Folia, all I did was just
That's
highlight the
fine,
square,
fine.
okay. So that's because the other fences that you have, and then the power line, it has a Z. It
yeah,
almost looks like a train, but it is the power line that's there because it's
Okay.
connected to the
now,
telephone.
I'm sorry to take your time, but the fence, so the fence that we're being asked to approve, we do not have the jurisdiction to approve because a part of it is on village property. They can only come to us with a prior approval of the trustees.
Right.
So.
I would imagine, I mean, if that's, but what I laid out today was that this patio was granted, which is the procedure that this all got put up, is that the patio was granted and then it was fenced in, and it sort of was bootstrapped into, well, I already had a patio granted and I fenced it, and it's too high, but can I have a variance on the fence that's already there? But it is, I think the steps that the village would need to take to whether this is whether it can stay or not, and then come back before us about the fence height,
Right.
is many steps before tonight,
Yes,
is, in my opinion.
I agree.
Okay, so, that would mean, so what that means is that we're not gonna have a hearing on this, which there's no jeopardy or anything that attaches to you. You could come here, you know, people have come here multiple times and for different things, so there's nothing that says this is the only time that you get a shot at this, but, the whole 20 feet is on the property, is encroaching. And I realize that, that you're here and I see the money that you spent on it, but I don't know it's not my place to know exactly where it is that you are now need to go back to, but as it stands, it's illegal. So I don't know, I mean, maybe the village attorney, or maybe some of the building, I guess is my department, building department can help you with what needs to be done, because to get in, there's nothing I can do with this, we can't do that I guess I'm repeating myself, but can't do that tonight. And the only other thing I was gonna ask is, I just forgot. So, we're gonna, procedurally, we're just going to deny hearing the application, or it's not,
What I would do is I would not accept
okay,
just not accept it
okay,
for action, and leave it up to the board, just not accept it,
okay,
and turn it back to the applicant.
okay, so we're gonna turn you down.
No, it's,
No,
No, I mean, turn you.
we're not denying
No,
it.
we're not denying you, I'm
We're
saying,
not
we're
accepting
just
the
not, we're not
application.
accepting your application, and there's been no findings other than the 20 feet of your fences on the village's property, so we can't make any determination on it. Okay? And so anybody that else is here, we're not having a hearing for public comments. I only have one letter that I will give to Joe to put in the file from someone who doesn't live here full time. Okay?
Could I ask that we get a copy of that letter?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
is there any question you have that I didn't answer, or that?
I have some.
Well, I mean, just the procedure of how this came to be, which I laid out, and but I don't know that that's a question for this room or not.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the subject.
Right. So I think we don't have any further business. So,
But I have a couple of questions for Joe. I mean, it's not part of hearing or anything else.
Okay,
So
so
Joe, you said something a few moments ago that I just want to ask you to clarify for us. You said that the applicant cannot come before us without something, and you mentioned the board of trustees. So I was curious
I
what you
think
were.
that the fence itself has to be a legal structure, and the only way that part of the fence could be a legal structure is with the permission of the board of trustees.
So where does that come from?
An application to the board of trustees, there has to be a request to the board of trustees
To do what?
to have an encroachment on village property.
That's interesting. All right. I had another question, and that was in the application packet, there's a short form EAF. And there's a question that pertains to are you within 500 feet of, and it lists several things. What are the implications of those answers? In other words, if you're within 500 feet of the village boundary, does that say that this application needs to go to the county planning commission So I had questions about that, and if you're within 500 feet of the water, the sound of the harbor, what's implied there? What do those questions mean?
Right, so there's certain criteria for what's called a referral. Referral is notification to the Suffolk County Planning Commission. We've had that on the planning board. I don't know if we had that before this board on.
I think we had when we had something on Bayview, because it was
Bayview.
within the boundary of the village.
Right,
clearly
so
within the 500.
there's a list of many different criteria. A state highway, state or county highway, boundary of the village, a park, and several other
The
things.
one-way, the sound of the
What's
harbor.
else? Yeah,
But if they're
also
answered
there.
affirmatively,
Then we
what bearing is it's a different type of hearing?
no. So if there's any of them are then answered affirmatively, then what we need to do is send a full copy of the application to the county, and usually with a copy of the public notice also, that we expect to have a public hearing on it. And we have to give the county 45 days to respond or comment before we can take any action. So we can have the public hearing, but we just can't vote on it. Now, 99.9% of the time on an application like this, the county will send back a letter called a local determination letter, saying that they believe that this is a matter for local determination and that they're not going to get involved. And you can even call them and ask, say, you call Mr. Freeling, who's the person that handles this for that commission, and just say, I sent in the letter, can we please have an LD letter, a local determination letter? And 99.9% of the time, you'll get the letter within a short period of time. But legally, if you meet any of those criteria, then you need to send notice and not take any action for 45 days or until you receive that letter.
Okay, so for the purposes of, for this board, whether it's this application that we're not hearing or any future applications, whose responsibility and on whose authority do we accept answers? Whose responsibility is to measure it? It's signed by the applicant, but
It's our responsibility.
if they're incorrect or mistaken or just wrong, what do we do? How does that?
If we feel that there's a mistake, then we refer it. We either have our consultant measure it at the applicant's expense, or we ask their consultant to confirm it. So in this village, a couple areas that we have to be careful of is anything within 500 feet of 25A, as an example. 500 feet within a park, the boundary of the village, so I think
Or the harbor?
I have to check that. I'm not-
It's 7C on the EAF, Long Island Sound, any bay or harbor or estuary or any of the foregoing bodies of water. It's surrounded by harbor, so.
Has that distance been measured? Do you know?
I don't know, does the applicant know?
The court to the harbor? No. Driveway.
So it's a best guess.
When he comes back with another application, we'll measure it for you and provide you.
Okay,
Just the odds, just the odds are that if you may be close to the 500-foot mark, and then what does that mean?
That you have to refer to the planning
So
commission
it's
before you
county
make a
planning
decision.
commission.
Yeah.
In other words, this board would not be able to take any action until we get that determination that Mr. Poquott described.
Okay. So, that all being said, then we're gonna adjourn the meeting. As we said, that there's no jeopardy or anything attaching to what's been done tonight. It's just a matter of, what has to be done before us, because we're limited to the 4 square, the rectangle of the request in front of us. I do have the one letter that I'll make a copy. It's from Hildegard Harris, and 15 Walnut. So I'll make a copy and then I'll put the original with the clerk's file.
Thank you,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
And Mrs. Bolia.
No, I'm Teresa Elkworth. I'm an environmental consultant. I have
Oh, okay, all right.
assistant.
Okay. So we're not going to be, so it's now 8:45, and we're gonna close tonight's, hearing. I don't think there's any other business before us that I know
I
of.
think I already brought up the thing that I asked you to add to the agenda under other business, right? It had to do with the minutes, stuff that I was asking for in the minutes. I don't think it was.
So we're adjourned, and I know. Motion?
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?